Oh, we're going.
Okay, here we are.
Well, for those who don't know, the guy sitting right next to me, this is Joe Harding. Welcome to the Seanversastions podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Never named it. It's growing on me a little bit. It's descriptive.
Yeah,
I don't like anything that draws attention to me. So I'm going to put as much attention to you as I can.
fair.
Because I think you're a dope dude. I generally start certain podcasts with it's not a disclaimer, but it's more of a divulgence. Yeah. He's helpful to me when my brain doesn't work so good. Mine for you is that you have a way about you in the creative realm that I don't see often. And when it shows up, it's like, oh, you're on several other dimensions and wavelengths. I love what you do creatively. You're a bass player extraordinaire. And I just wanted to get that out of the way. I see you as a pillar in terms of players go. One of the most savage MFs I know.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So, I know you come from a musical background.
Yes.
Your family is music. I don't know the depth of all of the extended family and immediate family and all that they do. I just know that music is very close to you, your parents. Do you have siblings?
Two older brothers.
Two older brothers. Are they?
They dabble, but I would say they're. I kind of took more of the, if you want to call it a professional route, and they took it more of like a hobbyist sort of route. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
Sort of like part of the family business, if you will.
Cool.
Or skill, I should say.
Yeah. So your beginnings in music, did it start on bass?
No, so I didn't really. So we'll go back to like my parents a little bit. Like my parents, growing up, they had like a wedding / like corporate function band that they would play like down in Boston like almost every weekend when we were kids. So we always had like babysitters on the weekends, and part of that they would be listening to all the songs that they're trying to learn for various occasions, either specific wedding songs or if there's any requests,
Building the rep.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would get attuned to a lot of these songs that they're listening to, and I would hear my mom like singing to them or my dad singing to them, and if they sang a note wrong or they didn't follow the song exactly, then I would point it out. I'd be like, it's like I don't think you're doing it right. It's
Honest
like,
kid.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I didn't really know how to explain. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have any sort of musical vocabulary, but I at least had an ear where it's just like I could recognize dissonance and harmony, and I could tell when you're singing a wrong note.
Yeah.
And I would call out my mom and be like, "No, you're doing it wrong."
I bet she loved it.
Yeah, yeah, they were. They're always very, very like encouraging as far as music goes for all three of us boys. And in 5th grade, I played clarinet for, like in 5th grade, you can kind of go like the first half of the year on one instrument. If you want to change to a different instrument, you could do that.
Yeah, the elementary school band.
Yeah. And like clarinet, I felt like during rehearsals, you play like 16 bars of C and like whole notes or quarter notes or half notes and stuff. And, they really did not progress very fast at all. So I was like, I mastered this, I knew I can play like the 5 notes that I learned over the last 6 months, like flawlessly.
What was it like being a master of clarinet in 5th grade? That's amazing.
It was incredible. Yeah. I was like, check this out. I was like,
feeling.
C, wasn't that sick?
Nailed it.
Damn. But after clarinet, I always wanted to be a drummer. And I jumped over to snare drum, and one of my good friends, Andy Karikas, he was also in the the concert band, but he could already play the full kit, and he even did like some like drum solos and stuff like in 5th grade, and so it was very inspiring to me. And so it was me, Andy, and I think might have been, was it Gabe Irvine McDermott? I'm not sure. It might have been the 3 of us, but so we did snare drum. And I remember like one of the Hall 80 concerts we did like Hymn to Joy or something, and there was like 32 bars of a drum roll of like the snare roll and stuff, and it was, I don't know, I just always found that like very, very exciting.
Welcome to the big show.
Yeah, I was like, check this, like 32 bars, let's go, guys. And, trying to do like the bounce roll and stuff like that. Yeah. And also like playing like Wipeout or something was like a status.
Yeah.
If you could do it, and you're just like, ooh, okay, you're at this level then.
My grandmother on my mom's side, that was the song she wanted me to learn for her. Yeah. So as like a 6th, 7th grader, I learned how to play it on the kit. Would play it for her. She loved that one. Wipeout.
I learned Wipeout on the snare drum.
Nice.
It's dope. And then after that, after snare drum, I think I told my dad, I was like, I'm going to take a break. And he's like, okay, why? And I think just for me, it was like, there was nothing grabbing me. There was nothing like, there wasn't really any sort of like creative element to it quite yet. And
it wasn't music that you wanted to leave. It just snare wasn't grabbing you.
Yeah. I mean, I did get a hi-hat for Christmas one time. So I had the snare and the hi-hat. And then my brother Sam, one of his buddies was moving out west, and he had like this like Thomas Star Classic or something. It was all white, and he like still has the kit and uses the kit today. And but he got the entire kit except for the kick drum. The kick drum came like maybe a month or so later. So like I was playing drums, and Sam was like playing guitar, and I think my dad would even join in on guitar too. And my eldest brother Matt, he was the bass player, and I remember seeing him play at a concert in high school, and seeing him on stage was very, very cool, very inspiring. But the drum kit, it was everything except for the kick drums, and I could nail the upstairs stuff,
Yeah.
And I was playing beats, I was keeping time, and then Sam got the kick drum, and I remember getting off the bus one time, and I could hear Sam going off on the kit, and Sam, he's just like extremely coordinated. He's the kind of guy who'll do like a half Ironman in the morning and then go play a varsity soccer game and score 3 goals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think just like through his coordination, but also just being part of a musical family, he was able to separate his arms from his legs and stuff. And for me, I couldn't do it. It's like my right arm was just connected to my right leg, so I couldn't really have that sort of independence from my arms and my legs. And Sam just got it right away. So I kind of had to concede and be like, all right, you are clearly the drummer. And he started like this like street punk band with a couple of guys from high school, and they would play at the like the Elvis Room back in the day in Portsmouth. And
legendary room.
Yeah, and so I got huge into punk music through them, and that was sort of like probably the first genre that I was like kind of passionate about. And but the thing is, like, I thought every other genre was just like stupid, it was just like did not hold up. It's like if you hear like Blink-182 or something, it's like, what a bunch of posers, like they just sound like children, They're not singing about like conformity and like all this shit. And, but it was.
Do you even punk, bro?
Yeah. So it was like Rancid,
Black Flag, Fugazi.
Yeah, it was some Black Flag in there, but it was like Rancid was a big part. The Unseen, Operation Ivy, which was sort of like Rancid before Rancid became Rancid, and just a lot of those like old school punk bands. And I just thought like their whole culture was awesome. And I had. Sam's band, like they had like Sam dressed like a snowboarder, but the other 2 guys, like they wore like the black denim, like vests with studs and patches everywhere and stuff, and zippers with no function. And it was quite a sight. Like
that's awesome.
Mohawks and shit.
Sure.
It was incredible. And you go to these shows, and they would kind of look at Sam and be like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And then they hear him play, and he,
Yeah.
He just had the punk beat down, and it was just very, very inspiring to me. Like I remember in the basement, they would set up, and whenever they would play, like everything was just kind of like shaking, and like, and the bass player, he was playing out of like a
SVT
it was a 410, and I think it was an SVT. I'm not too positive on it. I wasn't really much of a gearhead back then, but it just the effect that instrument had in the house. I was like, that's some serious power.
Yeah,
that's really
fun.
interesting.
That's fun.
And my oldest brother Matt, he went to college. He was 7 years older than I am. He went off to college and he left the bass behind. So it was like probably right at the beginning of 7th grade. I forgot like what the situation was, but I remember finding the bass in the closet, and I took it out, and my dad saw me, and he's like, "You want me to show you something?" And I'm like,
"Yes, I do."
"Yeah, sure." And the first song I ever learned was an Eve Six song. What was it? Like, I was one of my pride, faith in nothing. I forget what the song is, but it's yeah, I don't know, rendezvous and I'm through with you or whatever, something.
Yeah, no, I know the song. I can't remember. I can't think of the name of it
name.
either, like the exact name. You got all the lyrics correct.
Yeah, I think so.
If anyone watching, I do this all the time. And anyone watching, hit pause, look up Eve 6, listen to the song. You'll get a full context of what exactly made him go, ooh, ooh, I'd like to make some of that. What's that?
It'll be on the screen.
Good.
Yeah.
Nevin, I'm getting word Nevin is going to put it on the screen. Let everybody know.
Thanks.
Get over there.
It's going to be right here.
So by this point, it was right there.
Yeah.
They've hit pause. They've listened to some Eve 6. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So you heard that and you got excited, and that was the thing. And your dad saw that and was like, "Let me foster this real quick."
Yeah, because I was just able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't really like a struggle, and some of the riffs and how like the bass notes were interacting with the chords of the song and the rhythm of the drums and stuff. Being able to like kind of lock in with the CD, it was a profound experience. And the second song I learned was "Bomb Track" by Rage Against the Machine. And so that really like that changed everything. You know, it was just First, I thought my dad was like, you know, more badass than I ever thought he was and stuff. And he's just like, "You know Rage Against the Machine?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Rage Against the Machine." He's like, "How about this song?" And he showed me that, and you know, that was just another, just incredible experience, because like walking into the Eve 6 song was entertaining, but then locking into the Rage Against the Machine song with like just the heavy pentatonic riffs and just like the angst, but also just nailing the riffs.
Yeah.
You know, it took me, you know, a while to kind of get it down, being just my second song I ever learned. But
it's a powerful one though.
It was a very powerful one.
It's energizing.
Yeah. And then the third song I learned was Time Bomb by Rancid. So I had like,
talk about the first three.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And the Rancid song was cool because it's a walking line. So like I kind of had like this pentatonic riff heavy one, then I had like this walking line that you kind of translate to pretty much to jazz. And so between those three, it was pretty.
You're getting versatile already.
Yeah, just it set me off, and I just got the itch. And then, but the thing is like, I keep touching my mic. I would play with my brother Sam, and I would play with my brother, my dad, and as soon as my dad would start soloing, I'd be like, "Cut it out!" It's like I needed the chord structure to like keep me on pace, because like once you remove that, I was like, "What am I doing? What do I do now?" And so when it seemed to start soloing, I would be like, "Cut the shit," and get like pissed off and stuff, and then. Or like if we started playing at like the family jams and stuff, it's like, "Let's do a blues song," and I'm like, "Damn it," because it's just, you know, the same thing over and over again, like 3 chords, like the basic blues riff that you would do, and then the guitar players would just like solo the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, come on, guys, let's do something.
Yeah, that gets boring for a drummer too. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets real boring.
Yeah.
It can be fun You know, especially if you learn some ways to make it fun.
Yeah, I was in a blues band.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like right out of like my last year of high school into like maybe like the summer of college and stuff. It was a Roundhouse Blues Band. Shout out to Joe and Mike Rogers. Um, that was a lot of fun because I could kind of put some of the funk elements that I learned in high school, but also I learned the basic blues stuff and some basic walking lines. And since I was in college learning jazz, I was able to really add a pretty big dynamic to that band, even though the next youngest person after me was 20 years older than I was.
Yeah.
They're almost pushing 40 when I was like just breaking 20. And
it's not a bad thing.
No,
it's always important for your development to be in a room surrounded by people that are better than you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't ever be the biggest fish.
It was it was very educational. But
no, what strikes me the most about your playing, and the reason that I asked you that right out of the gate, is you're a bass player.
Yeah.
You're a motherfucker of a bass player. And most of the time, this is, again, coming from perspective of a drummer.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the bass player is the third best guitar player. Because guitar players, sorry guys, earmuffs if you need them, if you're sensitive, guitar players are like a dime a dozen. There are so many guitar players.
Yes, there are.
They get to wear the tightest pants. They get to do the weirdest dance moves on stage. No, seriously. There's so many guitar players that what inevitably always happens in bands is 3 guitar players show up. The worst takes the bass, and they just outline what the guitar players are doing.
Sure.
Nothing fancy, just hold it down, stay with the drummer, keep the drool, flowing out of both sides of his mouth, keep the stage level, and that's how it, and then every now and then you get a Victor Wooten. Every now and then you get a Les Claypool. You get these guys who you go, oh, bass was your first instrument. You love the bass. This is something that your entire focus goes into. And rather than just sounding like a bored guitar player who's trying to entertain himself, you sound like you're putting out some stuff that I haven't heard, and I'm really digging in, and I'm going, what did you just do right there? That was interesting. That was really incredible. And the thing that jumps out to me the most when I engage with people is interesting. If you just said something that I haven't heard 1,000 times, I'm really focused on you. And because of this weird way, I've said this before, the weird way that I've lived my life over the last 20 years, I'm exposed to some of the most interesting and wild cats on the planet.
Yeah.
It's freakishly deep in this area of the world, this neck of the woods, Seacoast of New Hampshire. It's like a bunch of world-class musicians and players and just intellectuals who don't like living amongst skyscrapers. They want to live amongst lobster pots and trees.
Yeah.
It's way better than I've lived both. This is better, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're one of those guys who, when I watch you play, it's compelling, really compelling. I want to know what you're doing next. What else are you doing? Because you're mining. You're going to end up somewhere there's no path to. And then everyone else is going to go, how'd you get there?
Yeah.
And they're going to follow.
Excuse me. Bass is a very lonely instrument. Playing by yourself is not as entertaining as playing like an acoustic guitar, or I think even like all through college and stuff, I was playing more acoustic guitar in my room than I was actually playing bass. But I would maybe try to do something on guitar and try to add bass to it. But the thing is, I also, if you notice some of my playings, I will multiple times do comping chords if I'm in like a trio, or if we don't have a keyboard player. Sometimes I'll add a few notes on top of a root note to kind of color a chord a little bit.
Yeah.
In high school, I was always fascinated by chords and by harmony and stuff, and wanted to try to apply that to the bass somehow. And I had this crate 115 cab, bass combo or whatever.
Yeah, Butte.
It was 100 watts, could not compete with anything, and it was not good. It was a trashy amp.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it had onboard effects, and there was a delay effect that was you set it to a certain rhythm and it goes ba 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 ba. So when you got to a certain point, you could kind of you could do like this sort of the rhythm, but what you're hearing is almost double time. So it's like da 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 da.
Yeah.
And so I would I did this like bass solo thing in high school. They were doing like some sort of like a fake like Star Search thing for
Nice.
for high school, and I performed one of my things. It's like kind of mostly improv, but with sort of like I know where I'm going and I know how to start, I know how to end it, but what happens in the middle is kind of we'll see where I go. But I would be doing like different chords, but also doing like scales, and the way the scales would be affected by the echo, by the delay, they would also harmonize with each other, and it sounded like what I was playing was massive. And on top of that, I could do like a slap thing on it, and the rhythm would get all contorted and crazy through the delay pedal as well. So it sounded like what I was doing was way more complicated and intricate than what I was actually doing, and it just kind of sparked my interest and be like, okay, so this instrument doesn't just have to be like root notes and that is my job as a bass player. Hit the downbeat,
make sure it's there,
and but also like there's a lot of beautiful sounds you can get out of that instrument, and like I didn't really get into like Jocko stuff until I was like well out of college, and I think I heard like Portraits of Tracy for the first time.
Again,
and
hit pause.
Yeah,
everybody hit pause. Jaco Pastorius.
Portraits of Tracy. Check that out.
Listen to it.
The most phenomenal harmonic sequence that you'll ever hear on a bass.
Here they are. Without these folks, taking Seacoast Entertainer to the next levels wouldn't be happening. Not to this scale. Tangram 3DS actively supports our music and arts scene and has proudly been part of it for the last 20 years. Their creative pros bring vision to life with everything from 3D renderings and VR to video, animation, web design, and branding. As a team of artists living and working on the Seacoast, Tangram considers a thriving local culture essential to us all for the connections we make, communities we build, and creativity we foster. Visit tangram3ds.com to learn more, see their work, and imagine what they can do for you.
So welcome back, everybody. You've just experienced some of the best bass playing that's ever existed, and you are completely correct there. So that you hear that, and it does what for you?
I want to understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I would like jump like. If I can't figure it out myself, I'll jump on like a YouTube video to just kind of figure out the pattern that he's doing, and either try to learn it from A to B or just learn enough of it. So I'm like, okay, I understand what he's doing, and I think I can apply these things to what I'm either doing in bands or to certain chords and stuff. Like there's a certain shape that works over a C, a G, E minor, and A minor, and so certain harmonics, like whenever I have like that progression happening, if I feel like it might complement the song or just add like a little texture or a little color to a certain chord and stuff, like I'll do a little harmonic thing, or even just do like a little line and stuff. Like, and I think like recently. It was my birthday back in January, and I think I said like thanks for the birthday wishes, and I did like a little harmonic thing or whatever. And but yeah, it's just it opens up a whole nother like plane of harmony, and it's just not relative to the normal fretboard. It's almost like discovering a completely new fretboard that you can only achieve certain sounds if you play it just at the right spot on the fretboard, to get the specific harmonics. And depending on and these harmonics aren't always available on some fretted instruments. So sometimes like on a fretless, you can hit a harmonic and bend the harmonic and kind of put it up and down the fretboard and stuff. It's a really wacky sounding little trick, if you will. But yeah, it's just I've always got like I've got inspired by just like planes of sound, whether it's just like how harmony works between other instruments. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. Like yes, I did go through like the entire like jazz fusion stage, and like my band in college was the most intense, like crazy music that I've ever written. But as much as that was satisfying and, you know,
Hard for the sake of hard.
Yeah. and just a lot of fun and working with my friends trying to create this stuff. The other side of it, sometimes just playing one huge note, like on top of a beautiful chord. It's just like, that's equally as satisfying.
It's what are you in it for? And I think that can be found in a lot of different forms of expression. In physical expression, you would say, I did the majority of my working out senior year in high school through college. And then after college, I realized I don't need to be like maybe super jacked. I don't need to like work out every single day like my life depends on it. And it becomes more, you know, the experience and more the quality and what are you adding into this? What is, you get more into discovery than repetition, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're doing jazz fusion, I'm not trying to knock jazz fusion. I know a lot of great jazz fusionists, and I don't want to yuck their yum, but it seems more like a young man's game and I have a lot of time on my hands game. So either you're pretty young or you're a bit older. What you're describing there with ringing out that note, that's expression for the sake of connection. And you're trying to emanate. You're trying to connect on some other kind of a level. You're expressing something you're hoping somebody's feeling rather than trying to either show off or be hard for the sake of being hard. I know a lot of musicians who are just, and I don't know them, but I know of their work. That's just, you listen to it and you go, I don't know what to get from this. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, but I do know that they're talented. Like their business card is clearly impressive. You know, I don't know how they're doing what they're doing right now, but it also barely sounds musical.
Yeah.
They're out there. They're way out there, and I can't comprehend what's happening. You're making very little musical connection as an artist. If you're ringing out notes and you're tapping emotions and stuff like that, that's a different kind of connection that you're trying to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the band I had in college, it was called Existo Ego, which is like exist in self, I think in Latin or something like that. And it was almost, you know, the band like Animals as Leaders.
Oh God, I love them so much.
It's like a very much like extremely G-rated version of like Animals as Leaders, with more of like a neo soul Animals as Leaders sort of thing. So the keyboard player for the group, Brian Palmer, miss you, buddy. He was just like the voicings and the chords that he would choose were just so tasty. And then the guitar player Evan Haynes, same thing. He's a mastermind. He's up in Portland these days and does
great music scene.
Incredible music scene up there, and he's very much a very big part of it too. But like his tone and just his ability to like complement Brian on keys with his chord choices, or even just his embellishments and stuff, was incredibly musical. And then the drummer Nick Gallagher, he was hilarious dude. I love Nick. He was one of my best pals in college, and he was basically the embodiment of Danny Carey. And but with
big shoes, literally.
Yeah, and just very much like very attuned to like polyrhythms and crazy time signatures and stuff. And we would go into a classroom at school, and we'd have a whole whiteboard, and we have an entire rehearsal room to ourselves, and we'd be like, all right. And we'd just kind of like map out these songs, be like, oh, let's try this section, and let's try this section, and let's try adding this section here, and let's see if we can piece them all together. But then it got to the point where it's like, what if we did, it's like, I have an idea for the outro. How about we do this one thing in 1916, and then we'll break into 7. And we're like, okay. And so learning like learning all the crazy time signature stuff was so much fun, because like if you can make it sound like it's not a time signature,
Yeah,
then you're doing it right.
You're winning.
You know, because you're not counting to 7 and immediately going back to 1. You're creating a clave, a rhythmic pulse that kind of bleeds the maybe it bleeds over the bar line a little bit, but it's basically like a more approachable sort of rhythm, even though what you're doing is very much out of the norm of what you hear on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I live in that world with Carstoner.
Yeah.
Ryan and Justin don't write to any specific signature. They write the songs that come into their head, and then I sit down and try and make sense of it. So a lot of times it's this time signature to this time signature, back to this time signature to this, and making it all blend and work well together. Kind of like, so what you're talking about, going in and out of your different measures, do it in groupings of either 2 or maybe 3, depending on if you're doing groups of 2 3s. So now you're to 6 different measure stretches.
Yeah, I mean, it can certainly vary. You know, it's whatever the song was.
It's whatever you make it.
Yeah, it's whatever you make it, whatever the song was asking for and stuff.
Just repeat it and say you meant it.
Yeah, right. But like this one song, it was like 1916 into 7. We did
not necessarily divisible, is what you're saying.
Well,
not easily.
Right. I mean, it did make sense to us because, like, for instance, the 1916, the way you would count it is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1. So that's your 19. So it's all like in 16th notes, and so for us, we could kind of like feel that rhythm. So, you know, for like drums, it's like, you know, so it doesn't sound like as crazy it is, but it's still strange. But then after we would do that, we were like, okay, let's break out into this groove where we're each going to do like rhythmic hits. Me and the drummer are going to do 5 bars of 7. You guys are going to do 7 bars of 5. We're going to land on the 1, and then we're just going to break off into this other groove that's everybody's in 7, and it just like executing it sounds like just this absolute disaster and like what's happening, and then everybody lands on the 1 at the very end, and you're like, holy shit, we did it.
Yeah.
And it's just like a completely wacky experience. But you know, that was sort of like the whole point of you know, doing this kind of writing in college, because you're young, you're impressionable. I'm getting exposed to all this crazy jazz fusion shit and all this prog stuff, and yeah, we're just like, let's just try something that's nuts and just see if we can make it sound good. And we wrote some pretty awesome songs.
Accomplished it then.
Yeah. But then just like kind of left that behind. You know, I didn't really go back to that kind of genre of music ever. I mean, I do have some bands today that will drop into some kind of complex stuff. For instance, like if we go into the realm of like John McCormick's stuff, when I kind of helped piece together some of those Paintbox songs.
Yeah,
and,
incredible. Again, hit pause. John McCormick, Paintbox. Look up the album, listen to it, enjoy it. You're welcome.
There's one song called Black Sugar Rose, where that whole outro where we break into, I forget how we were counting it out, but it was like, we were doing I think John was in 4 and me and Rich were in 7 or something. Or no, me and Rich were were staying in 4. Then John was doing more of like a dun, 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 dun. So it was actually like a 5, like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 sort of groove. And me and Rich were in 4, but then we would do that thing where, you know, he's doing X amount of bars in 5 while we're doing X amount of bars in 4.
Yeah.
And it eventually will line up to 1.
Yeah.
And then we break into, you know, this crazy groove and go nuts. And that was kind of like, that was kind of my doing. I was like, hear me out. This is weird. This is going to be nuts, but let's see if we can do it. And
that's the power of grouping.
Yeah.
You're taking odd time signatures and grouping so that while you're operating on a 3/4 and they're operating on a 4/4, eventually you come back together. Not just once. You can do groupings of pairs of those and end up 24 down the road where you're coming back together leading into the next thing, and it's an automatic transition and it just blends perfectly. and you've got like this element of spinning and you're off balance and you don't know what's happening, and all it does is create an exclamation point for the next thing that does make sense. So as soon as that hook hits, it's like magic. It's fireworks hitting, and nobody knows why except for the people that are deep into theory and understand what just happened, and even they go,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like
Nice.
the people are going to get like the most appreciation out of it is probably just other fellow musicians be like, "Ooh, I saw what you did. That was fucked up. Cool."
that's my favorite thing, honestly, is watching the back of the room and seeing a musician go,
Dang, well,
like,
that's cool.
I don't even care if you no clapping. Clapping does nothing for me.
Yeah.
But the recognition that I didn't know that tool even existed. I'm gonna mess with that one later. I'm gonna take, and it's like, yes, take it. Please take it. Doing weird stuff, interesting stuff, new stuff. My favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I like when I first started playing a 6-string, I got this. Well, it was a weird move. I got this. My buddy Nate Proper. Ooh, I got to talk about Nate Proper for a sec. So Nate Proper of Super Frog. We went to school together at Marshwood, and we were both bass players, and we both had bands. He had Electric Hazard with the likes of Connor Garvey and Shane Comer. And I was in a band called SMS, which was like 6-man squad, but we were 7, but then we were 6 again, but it's still SMS, so we just, whatever. And it was me, Adam Mitsugera, Nate Brisson, Andy Krikas, the kid I was talking about earlier, and Chris Miller. So all sort of like South Berwick County friends and stuff. And we were basically like a 311 cover band or whatever.
Underrated.
Yeah, it's just like
Great band.
Cool riffs, cool like hip hop stuff. If you look at like some of the old 311 shit from like the super early 90s and stuff, it's pretty
incredible.
rad stuff.
It's incredible.
Really
It's
cool
really
shit.
incredible. I set up my drum set sideways because of him.
Well, isn't that's Incubus? I think that does that.
And
Not
yes,
Chad.
Incubus does as well.
I think Chad was front center.
Was he?
Yeah,
I'll take your word.
that's fine.
I've seen Incubus live. I haven't seen 311 live. No, I have. Sorry, I have.
Yeah, he. Well, so me and Nate Proper, we shared one of the same study halls and shit, and we would frequently get together and just do bass stuff together, and creating like melodic stuff, chording stuff while he does a melody, or he'll chord and I'll do a melody, or we'll both like do like some slapping things where like what we're doing is complementing each other or harmonizing some of the plucks or the thumps, and we definitely like tried to push each other quite a bit, and we had this sort of like friendly competition together, and it'll be part of my memory like forever. We did a bass off at a school talent show.
Oh hell yeah!
And it was the raddest thing. We entered opposite sides of the stage. We did a bow, and my buddy Andy, he was our drummer, and he would just set up a beat and we would go off. But it started with Andy just being like, "Let the bass off begin," and he had a huge gong behind him. He just smashed this gong, and then
awesome.
Like, okay, and then we both like went back and forth like 3 or 4 times, like each doing like a different beat and a different pattern of like, it was probably mostly slap shit. And then at the very end, there was a couple songs that we wrote together, so we ended the bass off as a union, and it was just one of the coolest like performances I've ever done.
Still tops.
Yeah, it was.
Any
so
interest in redoing it?
yeah, I'll do another bass off.
You should. Let me know when it's happening. I'm definitely at that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Nate, let's get together and write some more bass shit. I miss those days.
Do it.
Yeah, so I had a really cool musical upbringing in high school. Like once I started playing in a band, that's when everything changed. Because like you said, everybody else in the band was, this guy Chris Miller, he was multi-talented. He was a really good bass player, a really good guitar player. Then I had Andy Krikas on drums, who was, you know, a phenomenal musician through and through. And then we even had this guy, Peter Goranson, who was a phenomenal saxophone player. And, you know, the horn was it kind of eventually fizzled out. I'm not sure if it was the right genre, and I kind of feel bad, like, that he, you know, ended up kind of being part of shows less and less and less. But still, it was a phenomenal experience for me, because I was still very much beginning and just starting to learn scales and technique. And the 311 stuff is very, very riff heavy. So it was just doing exercises and stuff. And I got to the point where I could be more self-sufficient and not just constantly doubling up on the guitar.
Yeah. That's a big thing. It's a big graduating moment.
Yeah. It was.
You get your own voice.
Yeah. I started taking lessons with Kent Allen, who was a phenomenal instructor. Like all my funky stuff, thanks to Kent Allen. Like we learned pretty much all of Blood Sugar Sex Magic from the Chili Peppers.
Flea's a monster.
Flea is a monster. All of like the the Meters anthology. So I had like 20 Meter songs like in my back pocket. And then we went through probably about another 15, 20 James Brown songs. And not only was he teaching me the lines, but he never played bass himself. He was always on a guitar. And I would learn all these cool lines, but he would teach me like the history and sort of the reasoning behind a lot of these lines. And when I would show him a song, he would hear what was going on, the progression. He's like, I bet they're going to be going to this chord next. And he was more often than not correct. And so learning the science behind a lot of those funk tunes, and kind of even like a history lesson behind those funk tunes, was so educational for me. And I think thanks to him, like my passion for the funk and the groove and the getting dirty is thanks to him.
That's awesome. That's early influences are so big, especially when they find something that you're clearly digging into, like fill them full of all of that you can, and then because eventually you'll be like, what else? Yeah. What else is out there? And then the next thing that really fills that up. So how many Bootsy songs did you just like tear into?
Bootsy songs?
And did you go right from the beginning through, or did you just kind of like Hot 97 it? Did you pick out all the hits? And
well, it was a lot of it like I did a lot of like Maceo stuff too, like Shake Everything You Got, Pass the Peas, and then some of the James Brown stuff, like even I Feel Good.
God damn, the bass work in some of these old songs, people forget.
Yeah, it's wild.
How like there was a point in time where every single piece that was being written for masterfully, and you can find it in every single James Brown song written. I mean, it's every part you should learn all of them just because, even if you're not going to use them all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sometimes like I'll there's a bunch of like bass lines that they're just like part of my bank, and I'll just like throw them in some songs like, ooh, I know this progression. I'm going to do this old like Maceo Parker bass line for, the shit. What the hell was that song called? The one that's like do 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 do. Shake Everything You Got. Sorry. So if we're kind of jamming in some like funky like dominant 9 chord sort of. That's sort of like the James Brown chord. Whenever you drop it into that groove, sometimes I'll dump that bass line in there, and some people will recognize it and be like, "Ooh, let's mess around with Shake Everything You Got for a few bars and stuff, and join me on it." Or some people that just won't recognize it at all and just think like, yeah, "That's a cool line."
Yeah,
But even like Doing It to Death. By James Brown, it's like it's like It's like all the different parts of like those old school funk songs and stuff. Everybody had their own lane, you know,
Yeah.
and everybody's lane was different, but everybody's lane like as a when it like comes all together.
Yeah.
It's like,
As a unit, they're cohesive.
yeah, like if you listen to some of these I think there was like this Average White Band video that came through. I think I saw it on actually like Rich Habib's Instagram or something, and it goes to like every single musician, and there's like 10 of them in the room, and they're all doing something different, but it's just adding the little different bits and pieces that kind of like get the whole picture and stuff.
Yeah.
And how those old school funk guys like came together like that was just so fascinating and so like groovy and dirty and gross.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Dissonance for the sake of grossness.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the dissonance, but also like sometimes it's beautiful too.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
I want to make a clarifying statement.
Yeah.
You, like so many others who know the great and powerful Richard Habib.
Oh yeah.
You have your way of saying it. You call him Rich.
Yeah.
Rich Habib. Whereas, so you're funky then, clearly, because it's Habib or Habib if you're funky, according to John McCormick, the great and powerful. Everybody that I talk to calls him a different name.
Interesting.
And I love it. But
Yeah.
so anyone that's watching, he's referencing Rick Habib, Rich Habib, Richard Habib.
Yeah. It's funny. Like in college, I came across this band called Dreadnought, and the CD called
Incredible.
American Standard.
Yeah, I got it in the car.
And
It's incredible.
it was on repeat in my car for a while too. And like I think there was one song called what was it called? Welding, mining, something. I don't know. But it was in 7, and it was like that thing where it was like a really cool melodic line on the guitar, and the contrast of the bass, and then also the drums kind of doing like not really a syncopated line, but more of like a almost like a 4/4 line that kind of bleeds over itself, so that it sounds like you're on the downbeat and then you're on the offbeat when it comes back around again.
Yeah.
And then they break into this sort of they all do these hits, and it just sounds so asymmetric and weird, and then kind of like what I was saying before, they hit that one and then drop into a cool groove.
Right.
And like some of that stuff was just so inspiring to me. And then like to find out that if I knew I was going to be playing in many different projects with the drummer from that group, in my 30s and now my 40s, I'd be like, sick. It's like, future's going to be pretty rad.
This is
I
not a
can
bad
some pretty
future.
cool people when I'm older.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah. And the whole like John McCormick, Rich Habib thing, it was really fun to kind of fall into their lap, because I met John through an RPM challenge from Joe Rogers, who was the drummer in that blues band that I played with, like just out of high school. And they connected, and I think they were more closer age and stuff. I think Joe's probably a little bit, I don't know how. Maybe they're close to the same age. But anyway, Joe had me over, and he's like, hey, I'm going to do this RPM challenge with my buddy John. We're just going to get together and play some stuff. I think you'd be a great fit to, see what happens.
Yeah,
and
a lot of great stuff happens that way with RPM.
Yeah. And John brought the first kind of concepts of that song Lime Candy from Paintbox.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's another great song.
And he liked how I was playing on it. So then he called me to go to Chris Chase's, I think at
The
this
Noise
time
Floor.
he was in Rollinsford at this point.
Oh,
And he had me record
1130 feet.
Yeah. He had me record Lime Candy there. And then I think I did I did 3 or 4 or 5 from that album. But yeah, it was like a kind of an ongoing thing, but that was sort of like my intro to John McCormick. And and then we got together and started hashing out a bunch of the other Paintbox tunes. And like Nick Fanuff,
Another legend.
there was a lot of songs that he did all the bass parts for that I had to learn and kind of reinterpret and stuff. And there were a few songs that I did on my own. But yeah, it was such a cool experience working with them, and then eventually doing like the actual rock opera at the Players Ring. I've never done anything like that before. I mean, it's like you're kind of in the play, but you're also kind of the pit band at the same time. And yeah, it was just some of the most fun I've had.
That's a hell of a performance. I hope they do it again.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I really hope he does.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who I knew, and a lot of the Giants, I don't presume they have any interest in me, so I don't like interfere. I don't butt in or introduce myself. I know I've been told a bunch of times it's a fault, and I should just walk up and say, "Hi, I'm Sean." But I typically hang back and I just let them operate, and I watch. And I've loved watching John McCormick for years and years and years and years. He's in that group of dudes that are just, they're giants.
Yeah.
Real, like national, international kind of giants.
Yeah.
He's in that, and it's been an awful lot of fun watching. And I didn't actually meet and talk to and develop any kind of a relationship until maybe 2018 or 19. And not long after, he asked if Cursed on Earth would do the Paintbox show that turned into
it was a
freaking epic show in Dover in 2019, December.
What was that place called?
Flight Coffee.
There was that one video. Well, I think it was Lime Candy actually, where Nick Fanuff just like pulls out the most dirtiest guitar solo.
Wild.
He's just like making his guitar just like, you know,
he's one of those giants,
scream in pain, but in a beautiful way. And then everybody just kind of like takes the solo around and stuff. And I even kind of sneak one in too. I think
you did. It was incredible.
They're trying to end the song. I was like, I want to take one.
Yeah,
and
wait, hold on a second. I have something to say. Yeah, no, that was an incredible show. And it was literally just a room full of all of my favorite players. Yeah. And typically, I've referenced this before, I know, I have the curse of the musician music fan, where I'm rehearsing, or I'm practicing, or I'm recording, or I'm playing a show, but I want to go to all of the shows. I want to see all of my friends play all of their shows, and I can't, because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. So I don't necessarily get to probably even 10% of the shows that I want to get to, and I go to a lot of shows. But that Paintbox show was like a who's who of everybody that I want to sit and watch play. They were all playing. And I got to I got to just hang out, chill out, and watch all of this go down. And then I had the absolute pleasure of playing at the same show. Like, it was just,
it's phenomenal, man.
Unreal.
It was great.
Having the backup singers, like, that was incredible. Courtney, Annabelle, and Justin from Mixtape. Getting to go in and like lay out harmonies with you guys and vocal parts. And then we used them on 5th of May on our album, Volume 2. Again, I recorded the Noise Flow with Chris Chase. So we were like, we'll do 5th of May. You got the part. You already know it. Like, are there any other songs that you want to do with us? You're already going to be there. And Courtney was like, I know probably 6 or 7 of your other songs that I stand in the back of the room at the merch booth all the time singing to. So yeah, we can come up with all kinds of stuff. So we ended up, it was like that show where Curse on Earth played, but half of Mixtape also got up and sang. Yeah. And then, hey, why don't you just stay up? Paintbox comes up, and it's just like, there was one song, the one that he wrote for his dad. At the end of it, the way that it ends literally sucked all of the air out of the room, and almost every single person started crying in that room all at the same time. It was like, it was warm, and it was heartwarming, but at the same time it was devastating and sad and like communally heartbreaking
Yes, but in a beautiful way.
in a beautiful, poetic way. It couldn't have
Yeah.
possibly been better. I mean, we can describe it with whatever words, but you can't possibly understand it unless you're in the room. And that's kind of the beauty about this music is like specifically to this area. I mean, I know there's great musicians all over the world, but I mean, most of the time, if you go out in this area, you're going to find something that's kind of that level, and you don't have to pay a huge amount of money and drive for an hour or two to go to some crazy place. That show happened at a coffee shop in Dover, Dover Rock City.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Tim McCoy, for that beaut of a name. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we lost a great stage in that place. But, I mean, the show exists a little bit. Thank you, Sean Daly, for grabbing some video from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Crazy experience.
Yeah, and actually one thing that's kind of cool is that that group, I think minus Chris Sink, but Chris, if you're around, come join us. We actually have gotten together and actually kind of sort of conceptually written a couple songs and stuff. And the problem is just like sort of the availability of all of us. Like we got together, we kind of came up with a frame of this song that's absolutely gorgeous and groovy and cool. But then like I went to Mexico and then somebody else went somewhere else. And then I was out with the flu for a week. And so trying to get back to where we left it, like almost a month plus ago, has been difficult because obviously we're all working musicians. We all have day jobs. And so sometimes trying to find the time during the week is very difficult. But I'm very excited of the possible prospect of that group churning out some new material.
Very excited to hear that.
And I think it's also like, it's kind of debatable as far as like what this is going to be. But, you know, I don't know if you saw the video of me doing that, was it Order of Thieves song?
Yes.
Yeah. Toll Booth Goddess or whatever. Like John sent me basically almost like a 40-song list of like bits and pieces of pretty much his entire discography throughout the years. And there's some like nasty like riff rock stuff. There's some really funky stuff. There's some more like kind of classic rock sort of vibe stuff, and also the Paintbox stuff. And so this layout, we were kind of thinking like maybe this is like almost like a McCormick's greatest hits sort of throughout the year sort of thing. But then we started writing stuff, and
that's where
so
it's
it's completely different. Like,
yeah, that's where it's
I
at.
think it'd be fun to throw in like one of the riff rock songs. I think they're just badass. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the prospect of doing some more creating with those guys.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he and I have talked a couple of times about recreating that show, and I thought it was just do the same show again. To hear that he's expanding on the Paintbox song list, that sounds incredible. I can't wait to hear what else comes out of that, because that was an album that there's no fat on it.
No, yeah, it's a really cool conceptual album. Like how he was kind of like seeing all these different like paint swatches and being like you know, Lime Candy or Royal Autumn or you know, all these songs that just kind of like they were telling. They were kind of bits and pieces of a story for him and stuff, and then he wrote the whole Paintbox story out.
I listened to him tell that story about where it all came from on one of my favorite podcasts ever, the Muse podcast.
Oh yeah,
with John Briggs and Duncan Watt.
Yeah.
And if anyone listening wants an incredible podcast to binge, that's the one, the Muse podcast.
And I think Paintbox was on the Muse podcast.
Yeah.
It was actually the first time me and Duncan got reconnected, because Duncan also played with my parents' wedding band.
Get
way back.
out of here.
Yeah, probably for like close to like 20 years or so. So I've known Duncan as Ron for like since I was like in my mom's womb, pretty much.
That's incredible. What a cool he was the last one to sit where you're sitting right now.
Yeah.
Duncan.
Yeah. Good old
great
Ron.
dude. Old Ron.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. We've been trying to do some, I'm not sure what's going on with, he's kind of like put me on a couple projects where we've kind of got together and jammed and talked about some stuff. But I think he's got a lot going on with.
Always a busy man.
Yeah, he's always a busy man.
Exceedingly busy man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what's happening with that. I haven't heard from him in a while, but we should jam again sometime soon.
Agreed. And hey, if you need a drummer.
Yeah.
Not that you do. You got Rick Habib.
That's true. But what was it? Where was I going to go with Ron? But yeah, I remember. So one of my first sort of paid gigs I did, I was 16 years old, and it was one of my dad's sort of wedding gigs in Boston. It was the Boston Harbor Hotel, and Ron was on, or Duncan was on keys that night, and John DeMarcus on drums, my dad on guitar, and we had a saxophone player. I forget who was playing sax at that time, or maybe there wasn't a sax player that night. Anyway, I learned like 45 songs. My dad would just write out like chord charts and stuff like bar of C, bar of G, bar of D. And some of these songs I haven't really heard before, or I've heard in passing, like through him. And, but yeah, I remember it was my first gig where I made I think I made like $400 or something like that.
Ooh.
And I was like, holy shit.
It's a big one.
As a 16-year-old, just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it wasn't, he didn't pay me cash, but what he did is, he saw that obviously I'm spending a lot of time, learning bass, and there's a clear passion for it and something I want to likely make a career out of. And he's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Because I was like, I want to get a new bass. I want a 5-string. And I got turned on to Warwick basses thanks to Dirk Lance from Incubus and also Peanut from 311. They both played a Streamer Stage 2. And I just love that sound, love the look.
Beautiful
and
bass.
I got a used Warwick Corvette 5-string. It was at Guitar Center for like $980 or something like that. I traded in... I think I had a Takamine acoustic electric bass that I traded for it. But my dad's just like, he's like, here's the deal. You're going to play 4 weddings for me, and I'm going to buy this bass for you, but I'm going to pay for it through these gigs. So,
Yeah.
So for me, like I got a bass out of it. And
A hell of a bass out of it.
Yeah, a fantastic bass out of it. And, but the thing was, like, I probably was, if I was part of the band and one of the actual members, I probably would have made like $1,600. But to me, it was like, fine, yeah. Give me a bass and I'll do some gigs for you. Yeah, whatever you
Did
want.
you get a resume thing?
Yeah, and that sort of turned me on to the 5-string, and I never looked back. That low B string is very, very addictive. Especially when you can like do a riff in the higher register and then drop a whole octave and do the same riff, adding that dynamic and just put some sack on it.
Yeah.
So much fun. And also very much like a lot of the 90s, like rap rock sort of stuff, like Korn, Limp Bizkit, even Incubus and 311, they all sort of had those 5-strings, and they're always,
Fieldy was notorious.
Yeah, playing those low ass notes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of the sound that I definitely gravitated towards. Although I did so like the players that inspired me, I mean, it definitely have changed over the years, but it's like when I was first growing up, it was like the guys I got the most out of is, Peanut from 311, Dirk Lance from Incubus, Chris Squire from Yes, actually.
Sure.
Because there was this one song called Magnification, and he did a lot of cool like chordal stuff, and I was like, that's the bass, and I was like,
New paradigms.
yeah, I was like,
It's
wow,
like finding a whole new Rosetta Stone. Like,
Absolutely.
a whole other civilization with a whole other way of communicating, and like a language unto itself with noises that we don't typically like. It's a whole Jocko. It's a whole other Rosetta Stone when you find those.
And although I liked what he was doing, I didn't like his didn't really like the tone he got. I mean, it certainly fit, yes, and it's very like iconic and stuff. But like, I definitely gravitate more towards like the hi-fi sort of sounding bass. Like I recently just got a P bass built for me, and it's completely passive and is very much like that sort of Motown sound and stuff.
Oh,
it's
nice.
completely like opposite spectrum from what I used to and what I go for.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely fantastic. I love the thing to death. And it's another Dingwall, so it's a fan fret P bass. It's badass looking. But like nowadays, a lot of my inspirations come from I mean, there's some Jocko, there's some Victor, there's a lot of this guy Sherry Reed. He's a gospel dude, and there's a really cool like YouTube video when he was just like jamming out at church, and like it's some of the dirtiest shit like coming out of these churches. Like if I lived in the South, like and that's the kind of tunes they were playing at my church, like I'd be going to church like
all the time.
Yeah, every single day. It's like those kind of like, are you kidding me? It's
This is
like,
all you're
some of the
doing?
shit that's coming out of there. Like everybody's so gross and groovy, and like just they seem to be like absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah, the drummers are madmen also.
Yeah, and if you put like those gospel guys in any sort of genre, like punk, metal, funk,
they
whatever,
can handle it.
They smash it. It's what they can add to those things is incredible. And same thing for the bass players. Like they're like a lot of them, I think are tuned down a half step, or maybe even tune their low B string down to an E flat or even a D. So it's slightly different. I think like I don't know for sure, so don't like. Certainly don't quote me or whatever, but their approaches to a lot of these songs are so inspirational for me because they're hitting the low notes, but they're also the notes that they're choosing to complement a certain chord isn't always like the root note, or it's just like a strange or a different inversion that creates this like sort of tension release or just a different kind of like emotion to get out of this chord, and it's such a fascinating approach to some of these songs, but yeah, the gospel stuff is just so cool.
They can do some really incredible stuff. There's a drummer, I'm trying to remember his name. He did a new take on Missy Elliott track.
Was it the solo one?
Yeah.
That
what is his name?
is
It's killing me. I'm not thinking of it right now.
Eric Moore.
Eric Moore.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible take.
Yeah.
Played beautifully.
Was it the one where he was like at the he was at some
He's in like a warehouse.
Yeah, is that like at the drum?
He's got his red
drum
heads
house
on the kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stylish dude.
He's wearing like the denim and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
hit pause.
So fun to watch. It's so
Look
cool.
that up right now.
Yeah.
And come back.
Yeah. Eric Moore, Missy Elliott. It's an
experience.
It's a ride.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Ride.
Hi everyone, Sean with Seacoast Entertainer. I hope you're already enjoying one of the greatest communities in the world and in the homes of that community on social media, like Seacoast Music Scene groups of New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, and the fastest growing new group, Lakes Region Music Scene, all on Facebook, and at Seacoast Entertainer on IG, as well as Seacoast_Tainer on X. That's in addition to the shows we've been hosting or sponsoring around the region, like Jam of Legends, Writers in the Round, and these podcasts you're listening to now. And this is only the beginning. We're growing, and it takes a lot of work behind the scenes. As anyone who has built a business or organization will tell you, it is effort. When it's entirely volunteer driven, it is devotion. Devotion, though, doesn't pay the bills, and building a world-class website comes with bills. Fortunately, we have a community leader who has stepped up to help as an in-kind sponsor to cover the vast development costs. We could use more. A website as robust and feature-rich as the one they're building us has a lot of services backing it up in order to give you the experience in following the arts you didn't realize you were missing. We'll need to cover the costs of these services. Things like a stream of content from your favorite local artists from the popular social sites, fed to one central location outside the confines of those services, and a calendar populated with schedules of upcoming events across the region. Certainly, not least, is real journalism will make a return to the Seacoast under the leadership of our editor-in-chief, Christopher Hislop. With this comes all of our favorite pieces like 5 Spot and Spotlight. One of my favorite undertakings in all of this This is the Musicians Archive, a constantly expanding archive of the musicians and bands who have come before and those who are just getting their stage legs. We all know that we're standing on the shoulders of giants here, so we'll pay tribute to as many as we can identify. From the ultra-popular like Say Zuzu, Thanks to Gravity, The Press Project, and Fly Spinach Fly, to wildly impactful artists whose names you've never heard. When you hear me reading ad copy for businesses, know this: they're paying actual money to support our amazing way of life, engaging with this gift to humanity, the arts.
So welcome back. We were talking about, so I wanted to know, because I haven't heard this mentioned from you yet. You just mentioned it has, in a positive light, it's got that Motown. You have some soulful takes. Where in your path does some of that soulful stuff show up? Some of the Motown, even.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is.
Did you get into R&B at all, or like? Because I
did.
I just played Blackstreet the other night with a dude that I would never have guessed knows Blackstreet, and I mean that's like think way modern, but go back a little ways and source back through like hip hop into those days, and you'll find some absolute killers. Who were some of the ones that you heard?
So, I mean, D'Angelo is a big one.
Yep.
I still need to like get into more D'Angelo, but like what I've been exposed to has been, very inspirational, especially like with, Pino Palladino on bass. He's incredible. And he's also like I don't think he can sight read. I think he's like one of those kind of guys where, he's like pure ear, but he just nails it. His intuition is just so phenomenal. And even if you hear him on the John Mayer trio stuff, like it's some of his stuff. Like I think it's that song like "Good Love Is on the Way" or whatever. Maybe it's called "Good Love" or something. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But
George Clinton has a track called "Good Love." It's a hell of a track.
What the Mayer tune? It's very much like it's a Mayer like pop tune and stuff. But there's this one video of Pino. It's a live show, and he does this gorgeous run. It's like kind of like a major pentatonic sort of run, like very much like in the gospel sort of vein, and but instead of like landing on the root note, which is like a D, he's landing on the F sharp, which is the third of the chord, and then the next chord is the G. So he's got it's one of those tension release things. It's a third on top of the D, which sounds pretty nice, but it's a lower F sharp. So tonally, it's not as pretty as say like if you were doing like that F sharp on a higher octave to get that pretty like kind of major third sort of sound, or major 10 if you want to be exact. But it just creates that cool tension, and then the next chord is the root note on G with John, and it's just like, man, what a cool idea. Yeah, it's such cool lines. But to go back to what you were saying, the R&B and like Motown stuff. I remember going to Kent and being like, that song like "I Want You Back" by Jackson 5, and it's like that's a very maybe one of the most well-known bass lines ever. Yeah. And I was like, that line's pretty sick. It's like the song is kind of poppy and maybe some cheese in there and stuff, but it's also kind of a dope tune. But he showed me that riff, and I believe I forget who was playing bass on that track. I don't know if it was Jamerson that did that one. But
I don't want to say. I can't think exactly of it.
Yeah, I mean,
James the wrong person credit, but
James Jamerson, he was like there's a cool documentary called the Funk Brothers, and it just kind of shows like that sort of Motown band that just played on like all the tracks, and his lines and his approaches were absolutely gorgeous, and I think there was times where he like laid down on the ground and like play on his back or something, but yeah, like a lot of his stuff, I feel like I got a lot of inspiration through there, and it's weird. It's like I won't like I'll sometimes like hear concepts from people and just know how to interpret it into my playing. I don't always like sit down and try to transcribe all this stuff. And to be frank, I don't really have a practice routine. Like I've never really sat down and be like, I need to practice. Cause it's like, for me, it's like the joy of playing is so much part of my being and the way, you know, I am as a human, that it's just so, you know, it's just a large part of my intuition. And, you know, a lot of people get like stage fright and stuff, but it's like, honestly, like the bass is my absolute comfort zone. And, you know, you put me on a stage, as long as I got a bass on like over my neck, like I'm fine. Like, I think there was one time where, I had, it was actually, so I do have to talk about like Frenzy and Jamsterdam, some of the bands I'm in right now. But I'll lead into Frenzy. Like Tom, the guitar player to Frenzy, Tom Menzie, he had his old college band come to his house, and it was like his mom's old house, and they had a garage that was like just sort of a jam space. So they put a bunch of lights in and tapestries and all that sort of shit. And one of his buddies shows up and he's like, "Hey, I got some brownies. My dad made them, and you know, there's probably some plant material in there, like those kind of brownies." And he's like, "He doesn't filter them, so." He's like, "Yeah, try one if you want." So yeah, I had a brownie. It was like 6 o'clock, and then by like 7:30, like I got hit with. I was scared. I was on another plane of existence and like in space time.
Hero dose.
A different, yeah, very much so. And right at the peak of like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like right at that point, Tom's just like, "Hey Joe, you want to play?" And I'm like, "Yes." So I got up. I think I was sitting down on this John Deere tractor, like lawnmower that was in this garage thing, and
Gave you something to focus on.
yeah, I got up and I went over to my guitar, you know, opened up the case and, you know, put the guitar over my head and eventually plugged in. And that whole process there felt like it took like 45 minutes. And I was just constantly thinking like, what are they, they're looking at me. I'm like, what am I doing? But then as soon as I got the bass over my neck, and like, despite being like on a completely different plane of existence, we just started playing, and like all that went away.
Yeah.
Even though I was like in a very much altered state, like that bass around my neck, I was just like, okay, I'm going to be okay.
The world makes sense
Yeah,
again.
everything's going to be fine.
Yeah,
We're just going to do some groovy stuff.
It was your safety blanket.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. And I think even like when I was much younger in high school, like I remember maybe having like a girl over or whatever, and I would sometimes kind of noodle on the guitar as we were having a conversation, because it was almost like a, you know, something to kind of keep me calm, but also, you know, something to make me more comfortable in the situation.
It was the most productive fidget spinner you could have possibly had.
Yeah.
That's really handy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Take that bit of advice, kids.
So yeah, I mean, the bass is the ultimate comfort zone for me. I am never scared to play that thing, and you know, a lot of times I'll be asked to play songs that I've never played before, and I'll look at the guitar player's neck and see what kind of chords he's playing.
Yeah.
Or I'll just kind of like hear it out. You know, I do, you know, thanks to my parents growing up and stuff, I did develop that ear. And then when I went to college, I took like ear training classes and rhythmic and melodic dictation sort of stuff. So like in my prime, like at my peak, when I was very, very well practiced and stuff, like I was able to like pick out like second inversion, like diminished chords, and like even hearing different scales, different modes and stuff. Like I could just identify all that stuff. Like I don't have perfect pitch, but like my relative pitch is quite good.
Phenomenal,
So
yeah.
if you give me like, if you say this is G, what is this note? I can usually tell you what that note is. Yeah. So that has been sort of my crutch, but also my, you my blessing and my curse, essentially, because I struggled with sight reading. Like I can't sight. I can improv like a jazz chart.
Oh, interesting.
I can walk changes like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But as far as like reading a jazz line and stuff, I'm trying to hear it. And I just can't. Like, I remember just being in a practice room trying to read these sight reading charts, because I had to pass like this junior year jury and stuff, where there was a sight reading segment, an improvisation segment, you had to play like a line, learn. Like, I played the song Anthropology, which has a really complicated sort of like head to it, and so I had to learn the head, and then I learned the bass line. It was like a rhythm changes sort of progression, and then also I had to improvise over the changes as well. And then they would put a random jazz piece in front of me, and I would have to sight read it, and I just fucking bombed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was just so bad at it, and I would just be try to practice at least like half hour to 45 minutes, like every single day, just so I like was doing it consistently. But I think part of the issue was, for me, being in all these like ensembles and stuff, all the other melodic players and stuff, they were getting charts to read while I was getting changes
That's
to
not
walk over.
fair.
Yeah. And so like I didn't really like, walking was very, very stressful for me, because like learning theory in school was you're learning complex and difficult concepts, but also applying that to difficult, complex music.
Yeah.
And so when somebody would put like a jazz chart in front of me, I would see like a A minor, C major, G, and then like a D flat five, or whatever like complex chords they're going to throw at you and stuff. And I'm just trying to think like, okay, that's this scale, that's this scale, that's this scale, that's this scale, and none of that matters, because like one thing my teacher up in college taught me was, like, for instance, if you have 2 chords per bar for a walking line, if you play the root note and then your passing tone is either a half step or a whole step from the next root note, that's your whole formula. So it's basically root, tension, root, tension. So it's constant tension release. So when you're walking a line, it sounds like you're playing some pretty cool, like, hip stuff, but really you're just following that formula.
Interesting.
And you can, whatever chart's in front of you, just do that, and people will be like, dang, some good lines.
I wish I could follow everything that you just said.
Sorry.
Literally, I started out reading I can sight read, but I can sight read drum music. So, like, as Duncan would say, I play in the key of duh.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just kind of in there. But I was in marching band, and I got the toms. I started out like you on snare, and then when I got to junior high, in pit band, jazz band, like full band, like all of these, there was a full kit. There's the snares also, cymbals are down there, bass drum is down there, but there was also a kit. And a lot of songs that the bands played, there was a kit being played. And Damian Rodzinski, he was the guy. He had all the chops. He was the drummer. And I think my freshman year, he was a junior. So when I started kind of learning it in the junior high and in the high school and everything, there was a guy that he was going to be the kit player, like, basically the whole way through. So I just focused on snare drum, and he was playing toms in the marching band. So I'm playing my snare, and I'm doing my thing with the snare. And then he's about to graduate. So there came the question, who's taking those over? And I was like, So I threw them on, and I went, oh my God, there's 4 different tones that I can get out of this. It's not da 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 da.
Yeah.
You can actually you can make some musical sounding rhythm stuff. And that kind of informed, I play so much tom stuff now and I'll add into songs based on is the singer going high right here? Maybe that means the thing that's tom oriented that I'm doing is here, and it sort of does this, and then he slopes off and goes down with the vocals right there as he changes. So I am here, and then I one hit one tom lower or two toms lower to emphasize the shift down, and then back into a regular kind of a beat structure. But so I can read drum music, and only in the past couple of years I have a teacher in Australia who's teaching me how to play piano, just like camera over the head, Zoom kind of thing, and absolute brilliant musician, raised by a piano player who was like the most renowned piano player in Australia. So this is his mom.
Oh, wow.
In order to basically graduate from playing in the symphonies there and go to Carnegie, you went through her. And if you didn't go through her, that they would not hire you. So that was the woman who kind of informed and trained the guy who I'm learning from now. So he has all these brilliant takes on music, and his professional life, half of it is discovering ways to teach people so that you can teach teachers all of the different ways to teach people who learn in different manners. So I'm talking with him, and I go, I know this side of music really well, drumming. Like, this is the rhythm side. I've got that down. I can't learn the other side. I've had some great teachers try and teach me how to figure out notes and chords and like all of that stuff, and it never sticks. And he said, I can do that. I said, I doubt it, but I'll let you try. And he said, no, you don't get it. If I can't figure out how to teach you, I'm going to become more interested in how I need to teach you, because that's part of what I do for a profession.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll be your case study. And so I'm starting to learn that side. And just recently, it's really setting in. And I'm like, oh, so naturally that's second inversion of E flat major. So you want the ninth on that? Okay, it's right there. Where would you play that? Well, I don't know. And I don't know why. So that's my next thing is, this comes before that. Why does this come before that? Well, this comes before that because you have to have that tension and release. It needs to resolve somewhere. So if you leave off here, you need to resolve with A. But I'm to the point where I can look at music and I'm like, oh, okay, it's F, sharp, G, B, and it's all sort of coming together a little bit. So like when I'm practicing, I can kind of sight read a little bit. But what I'm sure I'm going to run into is, I understand frequencies. Mathematically, the thing that nobody could answer for me, I was always just told, you're thinking too hard. Just don't think about it like that. The first thing that I asked him was, if I play this note and this note, what is the frequency that both of those are at? What's the mathematical number? And he goes, I'm not sure why you're asking me.
Or something like that kind of.
What's the the frequency? What's the number of it? And so he told me. He said, I don't know why you're asking that, but let's find out. What's your brain trying to put together? Let's get there.
Yeah.
So he told me, and I said, so would it make sense to say notes that go together because in some fashion the frequency ranges that all of those notes are at are divisible by or go into each other in pleasing ways so that the waves don't overlap each other in unpleasing ways? And he said, nobody's ever asked me that before, but yes, that's exactly why chords are what they are and how they get placed together.
Yeah.
I said, well, God damn it. I've asked literally 6 of the best musicians who are extremely talented music teachers that question, and I always got the same answer. Stop thinking about it so hard. I'm telling you, C and G are beautiful together. I go, okay, but that doesn't make sense, because C and G are here and also here and also here and also there, and I'm presuming they're all different frequencies. Yes. Okay, well, what are they? Stop thinking about that. But it totally comes together when you realize that mathematically it all makes sense only because the waveforms don't overlap in unpleasing ways.
Yeah, my dad is one of those guys who's actually very good with frequencies, but not really in a chordal sense, but also more in a sort of like a recording sense. So, for instance, like the natural sort of timbre or tone of the human voice is like 4K. So if you want to add some more warmth to like a vocal track or something like that, boosting a little bit of 4K usually does that. But
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
but he knows, like, I kind of need to like go sit down with him because I'm trying to get back into recording myself. Like I did like a whole run of like GarageBand and then like Logic Express back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, and then you know I got into a relationship and you know, the music at home thing just became a lot less frequent, and then when we split, I just like kind of rebuilt my whole recording setup and stuff, and have been doing some like random like one-off songs for some friends here and there. Just, you know, they'll send me an MP3, I'll record a bass track to it and just send them an MP3 of the bass track, and, you know, do what you want with it. But my dad, he like we do a lot of recordings together. Like ever since COVID happened and stuff, he's been doing a lot of writing himself. And sort of the first thing that me and him did, like I basically got banished from the house, like where I was living at the time. They were doing a renovation on the second floor, and that's where like my shower was. So my bathroom got totally taken out. And so I was going to my parents' place, who also lived in the same town as me at the time. And so I would take a shower there and then head to work. And then COVID happened. They're like, you can't take showers at our house. I'm like, what? Come on. You know, but it didn't matter. Yeah, I got banished for like, you know, almost a whole year. And then once the vaccinations came out, they got vaccinated, had me back over, and my parents created this. They recorded this album. My parents have a group called La Madeleine, which is like a lot of like old school French pop tunes, like Edith Piaf, Jacques Brel, and some other old school artists and stuff too.
Wicked cool.
And my mom, you know, she grew up in Quebec City. She's a little French lady, like barely 5 feet tall, but she's got some pipes, and she's. A lot of these songs were what her mom would be singing while she's like, you know, cleaning the kitchen and stuff as a kid. And so it's just kind of reinterpreting a lot of these songs that were just commonplace when she was a kid. And so my parents recorded this album of, I think it was maybe 10 or 12 songs or something. And my dad had me come over, and I put bass on all the tracks. And the cool thing about that sort of bonding experience I have with my dad is that when we get together in the studio, it's like, it's not father and son. We're two musicians that are trying to make the best track. Right. And so if something sucks, like he'll stop and be like, you can do that better. I'm like, yeah, I definitely can do that better. Or if there's a part of a song, like I think there was like a certain solo that he had some guests come over and do a solo over the song, and it was not appropriate for the song. There was a little part of like the tail end of like this chorus where he was doing the solo that sounded great. So I told him, I was like, honestly, keep that, get rid of all the other shit, because it's going to take away from the song. It's going to ruin the song.
Yeah, you're not playing the music.
Yeah, well, I mean, or it's just the guy was not playing in a style that he's played. You know, like, you know, you know, if you're suddenly in a group of people that don't speak English, you know, don't know their language, then, you know, you're going to come off as,
don't just start talking.
You know, you're just going to be like less intelligent as a result, because you're just not, you can't contribute to the conversation at all. Yeah. And so it was kind of like that sort of same situation where it's like you play somebody who's like excellent at this genre, but is not familiar with this genre. Like unless they're exposed to all that sort of stuff, they're not going to know how to contribute. They're going to try to contribute like in this sort of bluesy way on top of like something that's maybe closer to a jazz tune or something. Which, I mean, those that's probably a bad example, because those can kind of get intertwined a little bit.
It's not that bad of an example. I mean, you're talking John Dinsmore. You're talking The Doors' basically entire album.
Fair.
all of their albums, you have a jazz drummer playing bluesy interpretations. Same thing with Hendrix. I mean, there's a lot of early rock drummers who
Jazz guys.
the Ginger Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most influential drummers who's ever lived is Ginger Baker. Not because he played everything that he played perfectly, but because, like we talked about earlier, he was in a place there was no map to. Nobody understood what he was doing or how he was getting there, and it was, in some instances, infuriating for the people that he was playing with. But it gave birth to all prog music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of
fair.
it happens without Ginger Baker being wrecked out of his head on heroin and obsessed with African beats and extremely skilled in jazz music, like jazz drumming. Without that exact formula, Tool doesn't happen, Meshuggah doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
Like, run down the line. Animals as Leaders never happens without that.
Well, it's interesting. Like you mentioned Meshuggah, and it's like if you listen to some of Meshuggah's stuff, it's
First of all, Thomas Hake is a super genius.
super genius. Yeah, he's great. Like Bleed will go down as
Incredible.
Just that
A herd
that kick
beat
line.
in the middle of it is just
Yeah, it's insane.
wild.
Totally insane.
Hit pause, look that up, listen to it, know it. Thomas Hake is a madman.
Yeah, Meshuggah, Bleed. Also, another song. It's a wild name. It's called New Millennium Side Night Christ. It's just like absolutely crazy. Just like kind of like bleeding over the bar line. Just weird stuff. But the point I was going to make was that if you were to essentially take one of those Meshuggah songs and take some of those crazy rhythms that they're doing, but then like convert it into like a jazz setting, it's like lucrative. Like it would make sense,
They're lucrative,
So,
man.
like-
They make money. Let's not cry for Meshuggah. They make money.
Oh, yeah.
Not as much as the Rolling Stones, sure, but
Fair. I mean, they basically created a genre of metal.
they did. They did, and there's a lot who followed after them. But and that's this thing that my favorite thing to do is walk back through all of the different disciplines of music and find where did it come from, what was the inspiration, what was the impetus, who listened to what to make what, and then it's not a carbon copy, but you inevitably as a creator take tools and use them in your own way.
Yeah.
And all of the toolkit that he left behind was picked up and used, and it became all kinds of different genres of like whole different ways of map making, let alone where is he on this map?
Yeah. Everything's in 4, essentially.
All 4/4. How do
Everything's 4/4, but like if you were to look at the if they were to write it out, there's a lot of stuff like tied bar lines and stuff,
Yeah.
a lot of shit's
Half a
going to
beat
bleed over.
in this measure, and that half a beat finishes 16 measures later in the next round.
Yeah,
and then
because he's always like he's always doing like
32
quarter notes
measure
on,
layers
on
after
like the
that.
China or whatever. It's like it's totally bonkers, and I think part of the fun of Meshuggah is it's not like it's very difficult to figure out, and I think that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah,
and it's like
it's a
if I hear a music, like I think when what was that? I think it was like Kolos came out. I was like, I didn't really like that album because it's like it was too approachable. It was heavy shit. It was nasty, but it was like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I
want to get lost.
I was enjoying not having any idea where you were.
Have you ever heard the album I?
Yeah.
I was just like that. The one big 20-minute song or whatever it is. Yeah, that's a ride.
Again, the weird shit is my favorite.
Yeah,
out
so
there.
bonkers.
If I come across something that's, again, I said it earlier, if there's something that I don't understand, if I'm listening to it and I can't find where the one is, I almost take it as a personal affront.
Yeah.
And I have to go until I figure it out. That's my autism. That's my ADHD. That's my thing where I will obsess and I will figure out 18 different ways to let it wash over me and change my perspective and my way of thinking and everything that I possibly can until something makes sense. And that's pattern recognition. That's my bread and butter is patterns, and where do they begin? Where do they culminate? And then what is the journey through it? What are you trying to illustrate in that large or medium, or small grouping of patterns, and are there multiple layers to those groupings?
Yeah, it's
Hence why I'm obsessed with some of the musicians I'm obsessed with.
yeah.
You brought up animals as leaders earlier.
Yeah.
You want to hear a fun one?
Sure.
I've got a great side quest for you on this. So, Cursed on Earth recorded Volume 2 with Chris Chase at the Noise Floor. I always wanted, Ryan always wanted, Justin always wanted vinyl. Like music that we've written in physical form. Not just a CD or digital or whatever, but a physical representation of the artwork. And that's what vinyl is. So I'm looking through all of the different places that make vinyl and trying to figure out, who we're going to use. And there are a number of people in the area who had their vinyl pressed at this place called Burlington Record Plant. They're all people that I super respect, so I looked into it. And they're easily the most ecologically friendly, environmentally friendly. And they're like a boutique superior record plant. They were in Burlington, Vermont. Now they're in upstate New York. So I called up and I'm talking with Justin Crowther, the owner, and super friendly, super, I'm happy to talk with you, whatever. I don't care if it's 5 minutes or an hour. We got talking, dude. We got like musicians talking. And Animals as Leaders comes up in passing. And I'm like, I tell him how much I love it. And he goes, you're not going to believe this, man. Their 10th anniversary CAFO's in my hands right now. Burlington Record Plant did their 10th anniversary Splatter album.
Oh, no shit.
So I said, you're kidding me. Animals as Leaders is going through Burlington. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I definitely picked the right place. This is going to be incredible. This is going to be amazing. So we finish recording and we do the mastering. Stuff goes for digital, remaster, and another mastering gets done specifically for vinyl. It gets sent off to Justin, and Justin and Ryan and I are talking, and we're like, it would be fun. It's not that far away. It's not like we're in California and we're sending it to Vermont and we're going to have them shipped. Let's drive to Burlington and do a couple of shows up in Burlington, pick the albums up, all of the boxes, put them in the back of the truck, and make a thing of it. So we go up there, and Justin comes out to meet us, and he goes, so I've got some presents for you guys. I said, come on, what do you got? He goes, okay, this is one of 3, and he hands me Animals as Leaders double, and there's no splatter in it. He goes, there are 3 that don't have a splatter, and I have one of them. I want you to have it.
Wow.
It's like, this is amazing. And he goes, and I've got another one for you because I think you're going to like it. And he pulls out the one with the splatter. He goes, this is for you also. And I wanted to let you know that you picked polar white vinyl. The splatter in Animals as Leaders 10th anniversary is the offcut. I chipped it and made that the splatter in Animals as Leaders album. So Volume 2 from Cursed on Earth is the white that's chipped into Animals as Leaders album.
Oh.
So anybody that buys an Animals as Leaders 10th anniversary album has Cursed on Earth's vinyl in that album.
Oh shit. Oh, that's wild. That's
So
pretty
I
cool.
was super psyched with that. That was a great
rad.
gift. So like I said, it's a total side thing. Off story. Deep knowledge if you're way into weird and fun music.
Yeah.
So we have that one at the bottom of the stairs in the rehearsal space.
Nice.
Because
That's really cool.
they're giant Animals Leaders fans also.
Yeah, they're such a fun group.
Yeah.
Tosin is just I don't know, he's like a human quantum computer.
As is Matt Gerska.
Matt Garska he's a savage human.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it.
His playing is
Unapologetic.
and impossible.
Yeah.
It's some of the stuff he did. I just don't understand it. Like, and the way he looks now, he's like his forearms are like the size of my thighs.
Yeah.
He's like Popeye, And just the way he plays, he's like so musical, but also just like unstoppable and impossible. Like I said, there's a really cool. Um, uh, I think he, what is it? Is it Meinl? How do you say that symbol company?
Yeah.
I believe that's who he uses, and they have like a like I don't know if you've ever seen like the Zildjian Live series on YouTube and stuff. Phenomenal series.
Yeah.
But Meinl did one where it was Matt Garska on kit, Henrik Linder from Dirty Loops on bass, and then also Eldar, that like Russian virtuoso on piano and stuff.
I don't know him.
He's
Eldar. How do you spell that?
Eldar.
Eldar. So just like it sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a nice one to look up later.
Such cool stuff. He plays like beautiful piano, but he also like rips, and then also he'll like simultaneously do like a synth lead while comping on piano and stuff. And just the three of them together, it's pretty incredible material.
Is that the name? What is the name of that incarnation?
I don't really know, but if you look up Matt
Eldar,
Garska,
yeah,
Meinl,
yeah.
you know,
Okay.
maybe throw Eldar in there too. I'm sure it'll show up.
I don't regularly follow the Zildjian Live series. I do pretty regularly follow the Drumeo, though. That's a really good one.
Drumeo ones are good. Yeah, the Zildjian Live series has a lot of amazing drummers that are kind of like more hiding in the scenes, kind of.
Yeah.
And also, it's cool to see like some drummers that are in this one type of band, all of a sudden playing like Zildjian Live. The backing band is Ghost Note, so that's it's like mono neon on bass. You still have Sput Searwright, the drummer, but he's actually playing keys in this group, and I think he's sort of like the the person that's kind of like creating the arrangements and stuff. But it really gets these drummers like either out of their comfort zone or just like into a completely different sort of genre that is outside of the realm of what people are familiar with and stuff. And it's so fascinating to see these how talented these guys being put in that sort of funk jazz sort of.
I would love to see them
stuff.
try to do that with both Josh Freese and Danny Carey, the aforementioned. That would be really incredible. Because the two of them would be extremely difficult.
Who's the first one?
Josh Freese. So Josh Freese, he's the youngest signed DW drummer in history. He was signed at 10. He's from California. He's a three-way co-founder of the Vandals.
Okay.
Speaking of early punk.
Yeah.
They're California punk. So rather than being like hostile with a message, they were like hostile for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Like we're still just having fun and like tongue in cheek all over the place.
Yeah.
I think one of their lines made it into a movie. What was the movie? If you think you're free, try walking into a 7-Eleven and taking a leak on the cheese. Like that was their kind of tongue in cheek, little bit of,
Yeah.
They're not going to go hard at politics, but they are going to, kind of rug pull you just a little bit in whatever it is that you're thinking about. So Josh Freese, he played with the Vandals, but as far as like the varying disciplines that he is a part of, he's one of the most sought after drummers. When Maynard James Keenan was asked by Billy Howardell to take a listen, what would become a perfect circle, when he agreed to do the thing with him, the drummer that he called was Josh Freese, because he was playing for Maynard's favorite band, which is Devo. And simultaneously after that, Sting and Trent Reznor wanted him to tour with both of them. So he went on tour simultaneously with Nine Inch Nails and Sting, but one was touring Asia and one was touring Europe. And the stipulation was they needed to stagger their tour so that as soon as he finished on stage, he was taken in a private car to a jet that would fly him from whatever show it was that he was doing in Asia to Europe, so that the next night he would play with Nails.
Damn.
And then get on a jet and fly. So he was sleeping back and forth between Asia and Europe. doing 2 simultaneous tours with Sting and Nine Inch Nails.
Damn.
That's the size of Josh Freese.
Yeah.
One of my favorite drummers, absolutely incredible. But take those 2 bands and how differing those sounds are. He's also just returned to A Perfect Circle, where he is the original drummer and now again the drummer of A Perfect Circle.
Yeah, I'm gonna check him out.
Dig
Sounds like
into
quite
Josh Freese, man. If you
the
like
catalog.
that early punk, like fast as hell, there's nobody faster. Wild musician. Like one of my favorite DVDs in history is a Vandals show that they did, a Vandals reunion show. And man, watch that. Pull it up. Like you could, it's there's like a foot cam because he's so quick on the bass. But there's a shot that's just right across the kit, and they're liberal with the use of it. And you can put on drum cam and picture in picture the foot cam so that you can see the entire show watching Josh Freese and a little picture in picture of his foot so you can see the whole time what he's doing.
Dang.
Wild.
That's cool.
Really, really cool. I feel like all we've done is deep dive music. We haven't even touched on aliens.
No, we haven't.
We didn't get to any political stuff.
That's fine.
No advanced calculus.
You know, the music stuff. That's where it's at. You know, it's like
I agree.
it's it's sort of the saving grace in today's climate and stuff.
It's a language I don't think people can really argue about too much.
It's as important as food and or water.
Oh my God, amen to that.
Yeah, it's essential. Like I know for me myself, it's like the amount of therapy I get out of music and the amount of a lot of like just any of my stressors I get through the day. Like I'm a manager. I manage like 16 people, and it is not an easy gig, and it takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
And if I have a bad week and then I have a show, like especially if it's like, you know, like Frenzy or Jamsterdam, one of those guys, those are sort of like my main bands right now. And I just have like a collection of a bunch of other groups that I'll just like sit in with here and there. But like Frenzy, that's sort of like more of the passion project, and Jamsterdam is the maybe not that it's like not as serious, but it's just like it's more of like a bar band setting. But we also will get together and write some really cool like originals and stuff too. You know, as far as like the musicianship goes, it's kind of like Frenzy. You have myself, Colin Colmar, and Tom Menzie. And Colin Colmar and myself, we're kind of like, we've been like sort of the mercenaries, like in some parts of our lives where we're doing gigs with different bands every single, you know, weekend and stuff. And Tom's kind of stuck more to, I mean, I think he's done a handful of those sort of things, but he's more or less always had his like original groups that he's been with. And then on the Jamsterdam side of things, like these guys, mostly will either play, like the singers, they also do solo gigs. But for the most part, I think primarily Jamsterdam is the band that they've been in. And we've been playing music together since like 2012. And it's just like comparing the two bands is it's like completely different kinds of food, but both of like some of my favorite kinds of food. It's almost like one band's sushi, one band's like Indian food. You know, I love them. I love them both. Like
I didn't eat dinner.
at any times. Yeah,
I want both of those things right now.
And Jamsterdam is like maybe a little bit more like theatrical to a sense. Like the lead singer. Well, we all kind of sing except for the drummer. Yet, I think he will start singing soon. But yeah, Dave McClain, he's like the embodiment of like Chris Farley and Bruce Springsteen, like smashed into this.
That's an intense
human.
thing.
He like when we play a show, like if we play like Gaslight in the summer, and it's like a Friday night, beautiful day and stuff. Like the crowd cannot escape this man. He will just like devour you. Like screams into the microphone, and he also does like a really amazing like Trump impression too, and he's just like. Sleepy Joe. It's really incredible.
Is it as good as Shane Gillis?
It's maybe better. He actually, I think David will call up to a this radio station that's local as Donald Trump.
That's awesome.
And the so the radio station, they don't know who he is and stuff. I think they eventually
They figured out it wasn't him.
Well, somehow they're crossed his path. I'm like, I'm the Trump guy. And he's like, what? You're the Trump guy? And but
That's hilarious. He didn't tell him. That's the best.
but yeah, he just he nails it. He has the Trump formula down to a pat, and he'll just say random things on the mic, and it's just hilarious. But his just demeanor and his wit and timing of his like jokes and stuff are just absolutely unstoppable. And he's an amazing songwriter and lyricist and stuff. And then you have Dana on guitar, who is like Joe Satriani meets Van Halen meets John Mayer. And the thing is, like, he is completely self-taught. He doesn't have he has just like a small ounce of theory in him. He knows like what chords are.
Okay.
But when he does some of his runs or some of his licks or even like some of the crazy tapping stuff he can do, he's playing notes that like seasoned musicians that have studied those certain sounds, and he knows how to apply them to the songs that we write, and it's the natural talent's just out of this world. And then you have James Folan on drums, and he's just another excellent natural talent. I think like he comes from like a Travis Barker sort of background. So
Yeah.
the punk stuff is where he's at, but also he's come a long way in kind of spreading out his stylistic abilities and stuff. And yeah, we've been playing together for almost 10 years, over 10 years, maybe 12, about 12 years, I think now. And so it's just like kind of like a family band, you know.
Yeah.
They're my bros.
Definitely no shame in Travis Barker.
Yeah.
Definitely no shame in Blink-182.
No,
it was
no, not at
mentioned
all.
earlier,
Yeah.
and I've got to say, I know there's some shade cast at them, like they're not really a serious band. They're just poppy, fluffy nonsense.
No,
I disagree. I grew
I do
up
too.
listening to them a lot, and I will happily go toe to toe with anybody who wants to shit on them. If you take what Blink-182 wrote and you slow it down, you're going to find it's absolutely phenomenal music. And some of it will downright make you shed tears. Because, like, I'm not kidding. Take some of the lyrics, take it out of the setting and read
okay.
it,
Yeah.
and you'll go, oh my God, this is devastating.
You can do the same thing to "Call Me Maybe." Like I think somebody did a cover of "Call Me Maybe," and it is more like like an acoustic sort of like folky singer-songwriter.
Okay. Sure,
sort of thing.
yeah.
And like it completely changed the song.
Okay, yeah,
like,
absolutely
completely.
changes
You know,
it.
the song otherwise is trash, but like this dude changed it into something you're like, am I getting emotional?
It's hard to listen to him sing about his trials and tribulations with Diddy.
Yeah.
Oh,
But the other band I'm in, Frenzy.
Frenzy. I wanted to double back to that because I do want to hear about Frenzy. I'm a fan.
Frenzy's wild. It's a Frenzy's interesting. Like both bands don't really rehearse too much, and it's just sort of like we play at a certain amount that it's riding a bike,
Right.
You know. But the interesting thing about Frenzy is that there's a very large chunk of the show that's all improvised, and like every single Frenzy show is going to be slightly different. Like we have our songs that we play, but sometimes like somebody's going to do a different fill. I'm going to do a different run. Tom's going to do a different lick, and you know, maybe a jam goes a little bit longer, or sometimes the jam goes in a completely different direction than it did last time, and that's part of like the fun element. And you know, the songs that we have written together, they are I would say they're sort of like it's like a jam band meets neo soul. Like I always say, like Frenzy's kind of like a funk soul band that jams, rather than a jam band that also does like funk,
Funk Soul Brother, check it out now.
But yeah, like the connection I have with those guys, like the amount of improvising that we do, like a difference to Jamsterdam, like those guys, if we're going to have a solo, it's a solo section for X amount of hours. That's it. And it's maybe the same solo every time. With the Frenzy guys, we do our verse, we do our chorus, and then we drop into a guitar solo part. And then maybe I'm feeling something and I'll start doing a solo or whatever, or Tom will give me a nod, be like, go for it. And I'll throw something out, or be like, call it. Or sometimes the fun thing is like Tom is an excellent like band leader because he just calls all the shots, and me and Colin, just being very seasoned musicians, like we just keep our eyes on Tom, and Tom will sometimes be like, drum and bass. And so like me and Colin would just like drop into something, and who knows where we'll go. Or if we're playing a reggae song, Tom will look over at me and just be like, just point at him and Colin, and then I'll be like, I know what you mean. And we'll just, I'll do a little slide and I'll cut out, and he just does some like chanks with some like hi-hats on the drums and stuff. And then eventually we'll come back in, but it's almost like a reggae drop sort of thing. Or sometimes Tom will be like, just me. And then we'll stop, and then Tom will just start playing some like funky riff or whatever, or just drop into a different kind of chord progression. And then me and Colin were like, sick. And then we'll just join him.
Jump in, yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen after that. And we do a lot of like 3-part harmonies. Like we do like Rosanna from Toto.
Oh my God,
we do
Toto is so underrated.
Yeah, Toto's amazing.
So underrated.
I keep discovering new songs from them that
they're no bullshit.
Yeah,
It's like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
It's all fire.
It's all fire. Yeah,
all of it.
But yeah, Frenzy is definitely the passion project for sure. And we did our recordings at the Noise Floor, and had some great memories there.
R.I.P. Noise Floor.
Yeah, R.I.P. Noise Floor. That's a.
And we lost a good one there.
Yeah, it was sort of like all the local musicians could count on the Noise Floor to get like get an album done without spending $10,000 and stuff, unless you wanted to spend $10,000.
I'm still really hoping that comes back again, because it didn't go under because of a lack of skill or demand. Bad landlord.
Really?
Well, the place had to get condemned.
Really?
It was falling apart from everything outside of the walls down. Like it was just the raccoons. He couldn't get rid of them.
No kidding.
Underneath the place, he literally walked into that place. It was a shell of a building that had been burnt out many times over.
Wow.
And everything there he built. All the 2x4s, all the walls, all the windows, everything. Yeah, he's a builder. So he built the entire place. He built 1130 Studio also, and had to take that one place apart also because of a shitty landlord in Rollinsford. So both places went under because didn't go under. Both places ceased to exist because of foul landlords, and he doesn't want, without owning the building and having nobody above him, to build it again. And I don't blame him, at all, because
that's sad.
You put your heart into something, and then you have to literally deconstruct your entire vascular system that you meticulously grew and maintained, and then build it up again and do it again. Like, I can't imagine. I helped him take it apart the second time, but I can't imagine if that's your baby.
Yeah,
take the entire thing apart, pack it into a truck, and move.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I hope it comes back. He is one of the most gifted music engineers I've. It's like watching Rain Man count toothpicks on the floor, watching him navigate a DAW, like working on recording and mixing and everything. It's just, it's hard keeping up with him.
Yeah, it was like I've had so many awesome experiences at the Noise Floor, like doing the paint box stuff, the Frenzy stuff, even doing like a lot of like sort of like one-off songs with some random artists that wanted me to have on their album and stuff. And just working with Chris and his 2 pups, it was always just a joy. It's like cut a track, listen to the track, hang out with the dogs, and then go cut another song and stuff.
It's the best.
And he was also just like, he was a hilarious dude, and
He's one of us, 100% one of us.
Yeah, he was like the whole music crew, like all the different bands that I played through there, and all the different personalities that they're all part of those groups and stuff. He's part of that like group.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of those dudes, and I haven't seen him in a long time. I hope you're doing good, Chris. Miss you, buddy.
He's working with a friend of mine. He's
really?
fine cabinet building.
Ah.
Like all the rest of us, if music isn't paying you millions of dollars, you got a regular job. Rick Rubin's actually saying that's the new formula. Get away entirely from thinking of yourself as a professional musician where you're going to get contracts and stuff like that. He's like, get a job.
Yeah.
Spend all of your time being an artist, not trying to chase dollars, because as soon as you start chasing dollars, you lose the art side of it. As soon as you lose the art side of it, you're irrelevant.
Yeah.
So the new model is get a job, be useful to society, but also be an artist. And that's what so many of us have been doing forever in the local scene. Like this whole idea that you're going to live the life of a rock star and all of that. That was all show. That was all nonsense. The people that were making money were the people behind the scenes, the rock stars. They lived a good life, but only because the people above them were living a magnificent life.
Right.
They just made all of the people that were coming up think, this is what you're going to get if you just buy the better instrument. This is what you're going to get if you just play the game. And then they just cherry pick off the top all of the best. And those people become the rock stars, and everybody else is just the rat in the wheel, or the hamster in the wheel.
Yeah, I mean,
Make them all run.
My day jobs have always been just like, essentially, avenues to what kind of instrument I could purchase. Because like once I got like my first like adult job where I was like salaried at like a tech company and stuff, like I like doubled my income and stuff, and I was like Monday through Friday, so I had weekends that just go off on music. And so like from 2014 to like 2020, that's where I went like the hardest. And I joined like this Prince tribute band, and then was also doing all the sort of one-off gigs when I wasn't touring with that group. But on top of all that, I still had a 40-hour work week at the tech company. It was burning like 3 to 4 weeks of PTO just on gigs and travel and stuff. And it was, I got burnt out hard. Like 2019 was a turning point for me because I think I was in the triple digits as far as shows go. Maybe over 120, maybe 130 shows or something on top of a 40-hour work week.
It's insane.
And like I just wasn't saying no to anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter like what they were paying me. It was like, are you available? It's like, I don't have anything on this date. Yes, I am available.
It's such a magical point in your life when you realize that no is a very important thing to learn.
It is. Yeah. Like 2020. So the end of 2019, it was like sort of I was coming to a point where I was like, I'm going to do music full time, or I'm going to not do music full time and keep the day job and stuff. And so January 1st, I came to the realization like that the Prince tribute thing was lucrative for a long time. We're making some good money. We're playing some awesome shows. Played in front of like close to 20,000 people on the beach on the boardwalk in New Jersey. We played a show in front of like 3,000 people in Roanoke, Virginia, and it was just us. And like just stepping out on a stage and seeing like that sea of people looking at you and cheering you on and wanted to see the whole like Prince bullshit and stuff was an incredible experience that I will cherish for the rest of my life. But the more we got into it, we hired more management, and we didn't really manage ourselves very well. And rather than going to a venue and just giving them a stage plot and just go chilling in the green room, we set up everything. We lined ourselves in. We like all the stagehands were just kind of like standing around. I don't really know why we did this. We brought all of our own mic stands and shit. We're like, no, we're not. We're going to use our own stuff because we know our stuff works. But at the same time, it's like, why don't we just let everybody set up our own shit and let's go chill?
That's the other big thing to learn.
Show up at 3, we sit up for 6 hours and play from like 9 to like midnight or something, and then we were breaking down until 2 in the morning and getting to the hotel at 3, and then leaving at 6 o'clock to go drive 8 hours to friggin' Indiana or some shit. And it was like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Delegation.
And like we went from like making like $4, $5, $6, sometimes almost $1,000 a man for a show to barely getting over 300 a man. And like we would drive to Illinois and back for a 300 a man gig. It's like 20 hours in a van that sucked.
That's too many farts.
So yeah, a lot of farts. But when, so January 1st of 2020, I decided I'm done with the Prince band. I'm going to jump into the Frenzy thing. We're going to go hard. And let's like I just made a promise to myself. It's like, I'm only going to do gigs, like 2 conditions. Like it's a good hang.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun, or it's paying me a shit ton.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's both, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But those are like, that's like, I'm not going to do a gig for like $100 that's going to suck. You know, like I'm just not interested, and I don't need to put my time and my energy into that. It's like there is nothing. $100 at like some, I don't know, maybe at the Thirsty Moose or something with some cover band or whatever that's playing, I don't know, the songs that make you feel embarrassed to be like existing. You know, it just.
I had a set. What are the tilt back things that you put the piece of paper in?
Yeah.
I had one of those years ago with a list of songs with a dollar amount next to it, so that when people would come up and ask for Mustang Sally or Stairway to Heaven or Freebird or like all of like they were all on there.
Yeah.
You just, it's $100. It's $125. I'm not playing that. It's $75. And some people would pull it out. So we had to, got to do it.
Yep.
They're paying for it now.
Yeah.
But most of the time that was our way of saying, I'm not a dancing monkey and you're not the one paying me. So go sit down and drink your beer.
I think Mr. Brightside is our generation's Mustang Sally.
You're a little bit younger than me still.
Anytime we play that song, it's like people lose their minds.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like back in the wedding days with my dad, whenever we would play Mustang Sally, everybody just come out and do like their awkward, like, you know,
it's terrible
1970s like awkward parent dances and stuff. So
and
funny.
it's not even like these songs are terrible songs. They're songs that move people to the extent that they want to hear you, that they are telling you they trust you with something they love. They want to hear you do the thing. Some of them just want to hear Sweet Carol, and then they want to sing or scream at it badly because they're drunk and that's what they want to hear. Some of it's just that, but some of it is, these are songs that people carry with them, and magic and music and all of that stuff that we love music for. Yeah. They love music also. It took me a while to not hate people for asking me to play shit I didn't want to play.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of, you know, get over myself in that sense too. Where it was like I had so much of an ego attached to all these songs and stuff. I mean, I still, like, I'll give like David from, the Jamsterdam guys, there was like some songs that like I almost like made a pact when I was like a teenager and be like, I'm never gonna play this song. like what is it, like My Own Worst Enemy by Lit or something like that. Like,
oh my god.
Like I always despise that song because that song kind of came out when. I was still very much into the punk scene, and like you see these bands like playing these like songs, but also like if you watch the music video, they're just like shredded, just like really getting into it as if they're like playing something like heavy and gnarly, but they're just playing this like pussy ass stuff, and it just made me cringe. I was like, why are you guys like getting so jacked over this, like, you know, like this paper thin kind of like cheesy.
It's not even a good looking veneer.
Like, yeah, and so now they'll be like, sorry, Joe, this one's called My Own Worst Enemy. and like at this point, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'll do slap shit over it, whatever. Fuck it. But also like he'll pull out like Twist and Shout by the Beatles or whatever, and And he won't tell any of us. He'll just start playing, and we just have to join him. And I was like, "You motherfucker!" it's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Stop.
And it's like, all right, fine, twist and shout, shit. But it's all like now. It's a laugh, you know.
Well, do me this. We could trade war stories for hours, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And also bands that have inspired us and musicians. And we probably should do another podcast where we
Sure.
just rattle off things that we think are awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we get to, in wrapping up, where can people find you on tracks?
Yeah.
List them out. Who are you playing with, and where can they see you coming up? Bear in mind, this is going to be, I think we're in the backlog, so this is releasing like August time period. So people are going to be listening to this August-ish.
Yeah, that's sort of like probably the peak of the gig season. So
Yeah.
when it comes out,
Look for you where.
there'll probably still be a few months left of plenty of shows.
Or with whom, I should say. What website can they go to?
Yeah.
Where can they follow you on the socials?
Yeah.
What's all that information?
So you can follow myself, Mighty Joe Funk, on Instagram. Hopefully you like really disturbing humor kind of memes and stuff.
Hell yeah.
But also I post a lot of music of something that I'm doing or something I'm doing in my bands. But also Frenzy, I believe it's Frenzy_music. To see all the Frenzy stuff, we always post our shows on our stories, and any videos that people are taking and stuff, we'll try to throw that up on there too. Also, Jamsterdam_NH. We'll also post our stuff. Dave runs that page, and he does a phenomenal job of putting out some really, really hilarious promos for some of our gigs. I also occasionally sit in with Roots Rhythm and Dub, which is a reggae band that Tom's part of. I think we have a handful of shows in the second half of the summer as well. And
That's a killer show.
yeah. And if you want to see some French tunes and stuff, you can come see me play with my parents. We have a few shows throughout the summer. You can follow, you can look up La Madeleine, so LaMadeline. You can find that on any of the streaming networks and stuff. And yeah, I mean, shit, I think I did the math the other day. It's like I'm on like maybe 20 different albums on Spotify, iTunes, across like almost 100 songs and stuff. Just from like random local artists and stuff. But yeah, Frenzy, Roots Rhythm Dub, Jamsterdam, those are the primary ones you'll see me in. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, you have been, as predicted, a hell of a conversation.
It was a
lot
blast.
of fun, dude. I hope we get to do it again.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Love the shit out of you, man. I'm glad that we got to do it.
Likewise,
I look
Sean.
forward to getting behind a kit while you're standing in front of it with a bass.
Hell yeah.
All right,
Get a
brother.
jam.
Everybody, love the hell out of you. Go out and support local music. You find absolute monsters like this dude in the Seacoast of New Hampshire. So, yeah, we'll see you out there.
Thanks.
Here they are. Without these folks, taking Seacoast Entertainer to the next levels wouldn't be happening. Not to this scale. Tangram 3DS actively supports our music and arts scene and has proudly been part of it for the last 20 years. Their creative pros bring vision to life with everything from 3D renderings and VR to video, animation, web design, and branding. As a team of artists living and working on the Seacoast, Tangram considers a thriving local culture essential to us all for the connections we make, communities we build, and creativity we foster. Visit Tangram3ds.com to learn more, see their work, and imagine what they can do for you.